We must be live. Galen, is there anything that you would like to discuss either just with me or with future viewers of this video, since there is currently no one live with us? Anything appropriate to share with the future or just with me? Can you think of anything?
You should vote.
There it is. All right.
It's like
wait a second.
important. My
How
mom
does
did
that
it.
how does that make sense to people in the future who might be watching?
I hope you
past?
voted.
Okay, there we go.
You voted, right?
Yeah, and also to just inform everyone that your mom did.
My mom voted last night.
Well, while we're
and
waiting.
I'm very proud of her.
Okay.
I did tell her that.
I
have some stickies.
You're good now.
Okay.
Well, now we're truly just wool gathering, and no one has joined us in the live yet. But I will go ahead and reward future viewers with information about who we are and what we're doing today. My name is Tom.
I'm Galen.
That's Galen, and we, as representatives of Black Phoenix Alchemy Lab, are here today to. I recognize there are some Halloween perfumes from this year that at this date we have not yet sniffed, and it might seem that we are overdue in sniffing those perfumes, like the Carmilla scents. We have some more sniffing to do. But we are even more overdue in giving a proper sniff to the licensed Dr. Caligari 1989 fragrances that the lab released over a year ago. And part of why I was excited to dip back into this is we never, because of things going on at the time, we weren't really filming reviews at that point, so we didn't get to sniff them.
Mm-hmm.
Also, since then, the film has come out on Shudder, the streaming platform Shudder, which makes it even easier for people to watch it.
Go watch it.
So how Shudder works, like most streaming platforms, is if you already have it, that's great. If you don't have it, you can watch it on Shudder by like signing up for a free trial of like a month or whatever it is.
Totally worth it.
And then you could just cancel it. It's not an expensive streaming site because
it's actually one of the cheaper ones.
It's a horror-based one, so it's more narrow. It's affordable, but like what I'm telling you is that you could watch the movie for free, just to sign up, do the thing. I like to set an alarm in my phone being like, you signed up for a free trial of something, so that later future me is like, oh, thank you, I had no idea, and then just take care of that right now. So
oh, thank you. I had no idea.
So anyway, we've been lately in a kind of a rash of Dr. Caligari posting, sharing clips, just trying to get people to watch the movie, because I know that fragrance is inspired by a movie that people haven't seen is a harder sell.
Mm-hmm.
And also, the movie itself just deserves to be appreciated. It went through a huge, glorious restoration.
Mm-hmm.
That's what prompted us to do these fragrances in the first place. It was as getting the 4K Blu-ray treatment and all of that. We got our 4K Blu-ray in the mail. And that's wonderful, but even then it was like, buy a 4K Blu-ray restoration of a movie you've never seen and also some perfumes is also a bit intimidating. And sure, there were many folks in the BPAL community who were interested in the fragrances just by themselves because of the set notes and the art and stuff. And that's very cool. I'm really happy to have seen any traction there. People's reviews of these are really fun. They're among some of our more unusual scents that we've done in a while.
Yeah.
So it's all been really wonderful, but like we've been doing a lot of like little clips and bits and stuff on our social media lately just to be like, hey, doesn't this movie look cool? Just in case. And also, here's the thing. There are a bunch of people out there who really do already know this movie. They watched it back in the day. They've seen it since then. It's just been out there circulating in like the rave scene and the midnight movie scene. It's just kind of never really went away.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of those people, I've been trying to send up the flares, because I'm like, we have like licensed merch for this obscure movie that you feel like you might be the only person who's heard of it. And we have heard of it too. And now we have stuff that we made that you might love, just made from a place of fandom ourselves. So for example, because again, I really wanted to make sure, because for people out there who don't know about the lab, let alone oil-based perfume and all of that, we had these like really cool enamel pins designed that are from referencing art in the movie, the Dr. Caligari sign, and then also the Better Living Through Chemistry hypodermic needle sign. Really just nice, big, chunky, bright, colorful pins, because I was like, you know, there's people out there who are going to be so excited that anyone did any of this, but they're not really going to want a perfume. So there are
Perhaps a
pins.
pin.
Perhaps a pin. Like, truly no pressure, but there is a pin. So that's kind of like the basic spiel of of what we're doing here today. And there are 8 fragrances. They're inspired by plot points and characters in the film. And we're just going to dive in and sniff them and share a bit of lore along the way. So if you haven't seen this movie before, we're not going to be like too precious about spoilers. It's kind of a spoiler-proof movie because it is just so strange. It's not like a big plot-based film
Yeah, it was like it's not
watching
a very
experience.
plot. It's an art piece. It's like a weird dream.
Yeah, it's like got a
Pop
weird
art
kind of like
dream.
they filmed the entire thing in a soundstage painted black, so it's just like it really has a avant-garde theater feel to it and like surrealist nightmare feel to it. There's like dream sequences, but then the reality of the movie itself does not feel not like a dream.
Yeah.
The dialogue is especially just like zippy
Yeah.
and strange and stagey in a really fun way.
Mhm.
So look, I'm trying to sell. It sounds like I'm trying to sell you, but mainly I have to say I'm just excited because for a long time loving this movie for me felt like a solitary pursuit, and then every now and then I will, you know, I would show people because I had like an old disc, really bad quality disc, but every now and then you meet someone who knows what you're talking about, and that's very exciting. And through doing this, we have met more and more people who know what we're talking about, and we're also creating people who know what we're talking about. So you have been Caligari pilled as a result of your exposure to the lab. And if you're watching this video, there's basically no hope for you except for to keep going and just enjoy the people that you get to do this with. So, and also I have to say too, showing this movie to people for the first time on Shudder, for example, streaming it in like the beautiful restoration with legible audio is like so much more fun than in the old days with the like the blown out audio and the muddy transfer, and it was just like a really like a, is this movie real? Am I about to watch somebody die in like a snuff movie kind of vibe, which was, you know, cool in terms of an underground thing, but like I don't know, a lot of these, like Steven, the director, Jerry Stahl, like these people are still alive. They're still extremely proud to get to show off what the original vision of the movie was. It's just neat to get to appreciate something while the people who made it are still out there to get some of the artistic glory for it.
And they are working on restoring some of the other stuff that they've worked on together. That's Cafe Flesh.
Cafe
being
Flesh.
worked on. So that's
And they're
cool.
working on a new movie together. And I don't know very much about it, but Steven has dropped some hints about that. So it's just really cool. So we're just gonna start sniffing now. We're I mean, under the 10-minute mark. I feel like I talked a blue streak, but it is safely under 10 minutes, and we are about to launch our first bottle. So, but what a bottle! So the first one that we're smelling today is Caligari A Go-Go. Okay, this scent isn't. I'll just read the thing. When in doubt, just read it out. A fragrance inspired by the atmosphere and art direction of the film. Its layers of grit and ooze, pop art colors standing out against a starless void, clumps of debris, fake flowers, vials of mystery fluid, rumpled straitjackets, and crisp lab coats. Okay, so that's the like vibe. And I will tell you that this scent is also inspired by the fact that Caligari A Go-Go was a proposed name for the film. They did not, Jerry and Steven did not write this movie as a Dr. Caligari sequel or spin-off or anything. It was just its own thing. But they had a financial backer who was adamant that making it into a Dr. Caligari story would help sell the film. And it was kind of like, no, you have to call it Dr. Caligari. And then so Steven, I guess, came back and was like, can we call it something fun at least, like Caligari A Go-Go? And they were like, no, no. In fact, the movie will be called Dr. Caligari. So what I think is so funny about that is like the confusion that it has created since then with people just fully confusing it. Like when I told people we were doing Dr. Caligari perfumes, of course, most people imagined it was stuff inspired by the original silent film, which sounds like something we would do and may yet, but like for now, no. So anyway, Caligari A Go-Go is our just kind of nod to make a scent about the world of the movie that also references like part of like the creative struggle that is just like part of how it came into existence. And the scent is green amber, jasmine bud, cotton blossom, eucalyptus, secondhand smoke, dirt, and petitgrain. So this is one of those scents that is going to be really hard for most people, whether you have a scent brain or not, to imagine like what could it possibly smell like. And to confound things further, even if you have a really good scent brain, the scent itself is so different that I doubt what you're imagining is what you're actually going to encounter in the bottle. So right off the bat, she's a dirty bird. You know what I mean?
And yet also clean.
There is, so
It's weird how it smells so dirty and so clean.
so dirty, so clean. There's, okay, so it's it's like a traffic jam for sure. I definitely am getting like the jasmine, but it's that kind of like woozy jasmine. You know, like the heady jasmine when you're out walking at night and it's almost like too much.
Mm-hmm.
There's like just like a bit of that, but I think it's made woozier by the like the cigarette smoke.
And the cotton, like there's something where it's almost like because the cotton blossom is very strong and very clean, and it's kind of blending with the jasmine and the smoke. I don't know. There's like there's an intensity. That's what I'm getting anyway.
It's a really strong atmospheric fragrance.
Yeah.
Here's another thing that it smells to me, like from the beginning, the first time I smelled this, is it smells very gay. Do you know what I mean? Like there's something like very campy about it. And I think it is that combination of like a kind of like just like a rowdy, vulgar jasmine mixed with the tobacco. And there's just something that about it that reminds me of like a gay nightclub. And the strangeness about, so I like scents with fabric elements, as we discussed recently. And there's something really interesting here that mixes. It's like a laundry pile that started off as a clean laundry pile, and then it was a mixed clean laundry plus I wore this only once pile, and then over time it just becomes dirtier. I'm describing my own laundry pile. That's why Galen gave me that look.
Like, I think you know about that.
I'm self-diagnosing as a person who has difficulty with a laundry pile.
Very familiar.
But like, there's something about it that's like clean and not clean at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And it definitely doesn't smell like a clinical lab environment, because if you've seen this movie, like the lab coats they wear are yellow, which is strange, or like hot pink.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Dr. Caligari in those last scenes is wearing
It's
a
not
kind
normal.
of a satiny hot pink, like sexy doctor outfit.
It's very short.
It's like one of those things where it might be fun. It sounds fun to go to like a hospital environment that's also a nightclub, except for the fact that that's also not reassuring. It's kind of like how it would be fun to go to a hotel with black sheets until you remember that there's just no way to even tell if a black sheet is clean. You know, the reason why we learned from watching that reality show is that like the reason why white sheets are standard in the hospitality industry is so that you can just tell that they're clean. There's like,
should we try this on?
oh yeah, I mean, yeah, let's do it. The dirt and the cigarette smoke really conspire to foul this up. It's got a kind of, so the greenness of it, whether that's like the eucalyptus and the green amber, it reminds me a little bit of our Area 51 scent, which makes sense for this theme.
What am I even getting on the skin?
Yes. I'll tell you.
It smells very different from in the bottle, like right away. Maybe it is the amber.
A little bit more of a lit cigarette, a gorgeously smooth green amber.
Yeah, the smoke. Yeah.
It's just kind of glowing green in a kind of a Planet Terror kind of way.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay, so there, it's like the dirt is like kind of a hard packed dirt floor. It's kind of like dry, and then the jasmine and the floral, I don't know what it is, but contributes to like I think like a little bit of like a humidity in the scent.
Mm-hmm.
So in my brain, and I mean, of
I feel like
course,
it adds to the glowy quality with yeah, with the green
which
amber is
part?
making it very glowy. The jasmine. So it's like
Yeah,
there's something about it that does feel very glowy.
it's very flirtatious, but you're like in an unsafe environment where flirtation may or may not be welcome. It's kind of rowdy. It's kind of everything is like jostling together. It is like not. It's like an appropriately chaotic scent, but like affable,
Yeah.
like a good time.
Yeah.
Like again, that's like the
Not alienating.
nightclub vibe.
Yeah.
Um, it's just really fascinating. I wanted to make this into an atmosphere spray, but I truthfully don't think anyone would buy it. I do love wearing it though as a scent because it is really unusual. And I think that the parts of it that lift and flow out to other people the most are going to be like the amber and the jasmine. And then it's only kind of as you get closer that you kind of get in like the grit or the unusualness of the color palette
Mm-hmm.
starts to kind of sink its hooks into you. Uh, there was a conversation in the BPAL Parlor Facebook group where someone was looking for scents they described as scrungly, and this scent was recommended. I think I recommended it as a scrungly scent, which I think really they were looking for scents that kind of smell like unclean or unsettling in some sort of way. And this is just really it. But I have to say it's also wearable and it doesn't smell like gross, like a dirty kitchen or feet or something.
No, not at all.
It's just like in the movie there's lots of scenes that just show like all of the inmates of the asylum all just like in there doing their thing, and there's just a cloistered effect. But because they're all like oddballs and perverts in the movie, there is like a nightclub element to it also. So it's just wonderful. Anything for a go-go before we move on, before we have to a go-go?
I think you kind of nailed it.
Okay.
I don't know if I could add anything that would further what you said, because I feel like you did that one.
I feel like also I have worn this fragrance a lot more. So if there's
You
seems
have.
like
I've worn
there's
this a few times, and I do really like this one.
if there's a pent up
But
manic
you've
aspect
had some.
to,
You've had time. You've had ideas.
I need to
you've built
share.
up about. Yes, you were like, oh,
I've got stuff
let
on my
me
mind.
tell you what I think about.
Let me
it.
just tell you. Well, we have a lot to go. Oh my gosh, and then the smoke, it's still just hitting the smoke. It really it's like seedy adult theater, but like in Midtown.
I thought you said CD. I was like,
No,
compact
not like
disc.
not compact disc.
CD,
CD.
adult theater, and I was like, wait, what?
What are you saying to me?
What? Those are two different things.
So these are not in chronological order of like events in the film. They're in alphabetical order on our site. So
you know how that goes.
Yeah.
It's
So
the
we're just
chronology of the alphabet.
the chronology of the alphabet, like all of the
scrunglable. What did you just say?
scrungly,
Scrungly.
scrunglable. The alphabet is very scrunglable, and in fact, when you think about it, forming words is scrungling the alphabet. And like if the letters have a chronology, then forming a word is like sort of manipulating time itself.
Donnie Darko?
I know.
Okay.
So the next scent is Cannibal Soliloquy. So there is a character in the film named Gus who is an inmate in the asylum who is a serial murderer and cannibal who Dr. Caligari is giving him electroshock treatments, and it's unclear whether these are meant to help him or whether she just likes giving electroshock treatments.
Well, he also is into it.
But he's into it, and therefore she is also withholding the electroshock treatments. And there's like, they have a kind of an S&M relationship where he's begging for the electroshock and she's like withholding in exchange for like
yeah.
info.
Tell me more. Yeah.
Exactly.
Why do you want this?
Right.
You're fucked up.
But so this movie does involve what I guess I've learned from like the fan fiction world or like the online like sexy fiction world is like forced gender conversion is an element of the story. And part of Dr. Caligari's diabolical scheme is to take like brain fluid from one patient and inject it into another one and see how it changes. The Not only does it impart the donor's neurosis or whatever, but also elements of their gender. And so there's a kind of a, as crazy as all of this is, there is a strange sentimentality to it where upon Gus receiving an injection of Mrs. Van Houten's brain fluid, um, there is like a weird like disadvantage. Like he is sent into a kind of a depressive fugue state, pondering what he has become. And anyway, there's a whole in the like action-packed, crazy like last third of the movie. There's also these like this monologue that he's giving about his experience now, like examining himself. And there's just it's really strangely poignant. So we did Cannibal Soliloquy, and the line from the movie is, "I know what I am, but I know I'm not what I am. Beauty lives inside me, but oh, when beauty is trapped, it gets ugly." And the scent is a perfume worthy of a fading Tennessee Williams heroine wandering through a mirror maze of memories, only slightly singed from too many electro-convulsive therapy sessions. Wafts of burning frankincense rising from a hot seat occupied by dueling champaca orchids, white amber, Sicilian mandarin, and bergamot.
Okay.
Okay.
You ready?
Yes, I guess so. So the idea of like a Tennessee Williams heroine, like Blanche Dubois style perfume is just like, for me, I'm like, I'm gonna make myself like this no matter what, because that's amazing to me.
Oh, it's very fizzy. Like the aldehyde kind of.
So when I smell this, the very first thing that I get is that tinge of smoke, which I know is the frankincense. It's just kind of an unmistakable part of it, and it's jostled up directly against the champaca orchid. I think of the amber as being relatively comforting in a scent, but white amber maybe like a little more spare. And so you've got like this kind of silky, warm floral with like a kind of a smoky edge. And the fizziness that you're talking about, I don't know if it's an aldehyde or if it's just like the bergamot and the mandarin.
Yeah, the mandarin. Yeah, because it smells like a there's like a kind of citrus sparkle in there.
It's like inviting and also kind of doomed, and it reminds me of like a kind of like a it's like a warm weather, like it's like maybe too warm to be wearing like a sultry floral perfume, but I'm doing it anyway kind of perfume. I experimented with wearing it this summer and I really got into it, but I got excited about waiting until cooler weather to try it a little more because it has that frankincense singe that just kind of, I think, needs it just like it definitely is like warm toned, reminiscent of heat, and there's also kind of like a troubled darkness in it as well. On the skin, I'm getting like a mandarin sparkle for sure.
Oh, very much. That's like definitely the thing I'm getting first.
And then the amber is like asserting itself, and it's just like really smoothing out.
Yeah, and that champaca orchid.
It smells okay. So like for me, like the smell here, truly, it's like Blanche Dubois at the end of A Streetcar Named Desire when she's fresh out of the hot bath and she's completely lost her mind and she thinks she's going on a journey with a rich gentleman, but actually the people from the asylum are on their way, like right now, and she's just like rummaging in her trunk. It's just like the way the trunk and the clothes and that she would smell to me.
Yeah.
But there is kind of like this like penumbra of doom around it.
Yes.
it has a kind of like a dark wildness to it. The hammering from the, speaking of penumbra of doom, the hammering from the construction site. I really just love it. I love that there is like, it's like an extremely beautiful, delicate scent, but there is like an element of like doom and tragedy to it.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. You don't have to supply your own doom and tragedy. It's just preloaded in the bottle. The bergamot is stepping forward, I have to say. Whereas before, I think in the bottle, I was mostly smelling the champaca. I've been looking everywhere for a champaca orchid, maybe growing somewhere on our side of town that I could use for a photo shoot for this, and I've completely come up blank. No one's growing it.
That smoke note underneath is
Yes.
it is kind of creeping me out.
Right. It is like the interesting thing about the smoke, the singed note, is it's kind of insistent.
It really does have like a summer night feel.
Yeah.
It's like humid and you're like smoking in a backyard.
Yes.
But like the backyard is blooming.
It's like
Oh.
it's truly like it is completely like a Blanche Dubois, not like the fantasy she has of herself, but like the reality of the Blanche Dubois.
Yeah. There's a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot going on in my brain.
In my brain. In my brain. It's really interesting to have like a kind of like a delicate feminine floral perfume that is just like so cursed.
Yeah, that also has like like the heavy incense and the smoke like creeping in kind of slowly.
My favorite part about that movie, I'll watch the whole movie to get to the end when the asylum people show up to take her away. And in the script that Tennessee Williams wrote, he talks about her when she realizes that she's about to be like captured, basically. She starts like struggling against the windows and everything. And in the stage notes, he likens it to like a moth, like trying to like, battering against the window glass. And of course, that's just something that's in your brain once you've read the description. But then when you watch the movie, of course, Vivian Leigh knows this and completely does that thing and batters against the window like a moth trying to and there's something about that connection at the very end that is just like horrifying to watch, where you're just like, so much of it, because like old movies can be like a little campy, it's very theatrical. In fact, once my friend Hannah and I got so stoned and she'd never seen A Streetcar Named Desire before, and we were watching it and she's like, this lady's ridiculous. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, she is ridiculous, but when you're stoned, you know how it can make a movie seem extra nuts.
Mm-hmm.
And it suddenly, for a while, it kind of ruined it for me, because every time I would see her and she's just so ridiculous, and it's like, oh my God, who wouldn't want her out of your house? But that's kind of part of it.
Right, she's not well.
No, and that very ending of the movie is where it all just like crashes. So anyway, Cannibal Soliloquy. But I have to say, for the actor, Fox, isn't his name Fox something in the movie?
No, that's someone else.
That's something else. Someone else. Okay, well, the actor who plays Gus in the movie does such a great job of taking the silliness and the campiness of his character to the maximum. But then when it comes time to do this, like, gravitas, like, monologue contemplating, like, all of this, it's really actually haunting and effective. It's just, like, real artistry. So I like a movie where you get, like, the silliness and the real shit. Okay.
A really interesting performance. I wonder what else that guy's done.
Melrose Place. Remember, we saw him in an
did
episode of
see
Melrose
him.
Place.
I was like, we saw him in something else where he was like, he did a guest
weirdo.
spot. Yeah.
He was
Oh shit, that's right.
He's done other stuff. It's just funny that was like
that was it.
that
yeah.
was a thing.
Dr. Caligari.
Yeah, it's funny to think about showing up to Melrose Place with like Dr. Caligari relatively recently in your resume. That brings us to Doom Cake. Doom Cake. Not a lot to explain for this one, other than there's a hallucination sequence in the movie that involves a cake that explodes with slimy tentacles. And the scent says,
You know.
a drug-induced vision of grabby, gore-slicked tentacles erupting from a facade of thick buttercream and lemon sponge soaked in cherry-flavored goo. So one of the amazing things about this, and I'm not even going to go into like my personal background with the Doom Cake lore, but
Aw.
I know we'll save it for another time. But when you're making a collection of fragrances, you really want to include a whole range of scent types and appeal to like lots of different tastes. And we kind of joke sometimes about like if you don't throw in some kind of gourmand or some element, there are a lot of people who will just be left out because these are kind of murky waters for a lot of folks to tread into in terms of a personal fragrance fantasy. And Doom Cake really just was such a gift from the movie because the cake obviously needs to be a fragrance. And then this gives us like the statement gourmand of the Dr. Caligari perfume collection. So it's just like a beautiful, strangely,
Whoa.
it is a lemon cake with buttercream and cherry flavored goo. That's
I
what
feel like
it
someone
is.
put my face in a cake.
Yes.
I'm like,
Oh, I wish I'd thought of that. I wish I had one ready and I was just like, "Wah!" And then we just do.
wow.
Yeah.
Oh god, it's so intense in the bottle.
I know. And we've talked before about how cherry is definitely the culprit because cherry in the bottle is just often more than it's forbidding to a lot of people. It's more than they can handle. And it's something about there's like I think that Beth really did put a kind of a darkness in the cherry here somehow, and I don't know if it's, would you say? I mean, it's like just seems like really like a kind of a
The
dark,
cherry is very
bloody.
intense, but when I kind of sneak past that note and I can start smelling the cake and the lemon, I'm like, this is really, really yummy. The cherry is very intense. though.
Aggressive in the bottle.
Yeah.
Immediately on the skin, I get cake, and it really reminds me a bit of the Cake Pop perfume that we did this summer for the Pride series, in terms of just kind of like a light golden cake. Not super citrusy. I mean, if anything, the citrus and the cherry are probably fighting and calling it a tie. So I'm not expecting to get anything too lemony, but it does actually give it kind of like a bright zest, where otherwise it might just be like a kind of a blander like vanilla cake situation. There is some like color palette action going on here. It's like cherry limeade from Sonic, but like as a cake.
But like it's a cake, yeah. It's like bright and fun and a little evil.
Dark. There is like, I think there's just like some attitude in the cherry.
Yeah.
It's that dark, concentrated cherry goo. But by far, I will
smells
say,
really good.
yeah, by far the most kind of like accessible to a curious outsider
And
palette-wise.
it smells very chaotic. There isn't like ooh, cake, but also like, wait, what kind of cake is
It's
this?
unusual. It's unusual. I mean, this is like it's funny because it's it makes sense. It's not that someone wouldn't make a cake like this, but a like lemon and cherry cake is just not a super common thing.
Right. Who's doing that?
This is great. The label artwork with our name on it obscures it a little bit, but of course, Dr. Caligari, when she hands him the horrific-looking slice of cake, has the craziest macaroni and cheese yellow fingernails, which are in the movie at several points. Just like a sight to behold. And when we were trying to get this collection off the ground, I was hoping to do nail polishes, and I wanted to do like a hot shimmery pink from Mrs. Van Outen's nails, and then the macaroni yellow nail polish. And I remember Beth looking at me like, she's like, no one's gonna... The yellow nail polish will not sell. It became moot because that ended up being the year that the lab moved, and
Right.
we were lucky. I mean, these scents were basically forged in the furnace of the last months that the lab was functional in the old space. And I remember getting them done was so important because I knew that the moment that the move happened, I didn't know when it could ever be accomplished.
Yeah.
This is gentling up on me. It's actually quite nice.
It's so nice. Yeah, I got like a weird whiff of it when I had put my arm down and then I could kind of smell it from up here and I went, wait a minute, I want to smell that again.
I think that what's interesting
That's
about it is
really
that the
good.
cherry is kind of the, and again, maybe the lemon, it's like the cherry is the least sweet part of it. There's a soft sweet cake, there's like a
The lemon
buttercream.
tang and the buttercream.
Something about the
but
lemon and
then
cherry
you get
together
the
makes
cake
it,
part, and you're like, there's the sweet.
the cherry element is connected to something less sweet, and I think that's interesting.
Ugh.
It's really sneaky. It's kind of a shapeshifter.
Yeah.
But like the shapes only exist in a certain range, so I feel like the danger is contained at least. I have to say too that I know that this is one that I think probably the best seller of the collection because the Cake Chasers, you know who you are, were hip to it really early. And when we sold perfume at the screening, the New York premiere of the restoration. And that was the one in person that people bought the most of for sure. Although I have to say, the backup, the next most popular one is what we're reviewing next, which is I Know You're Watching Me. So, I want to get the Dr. Caligari, 1989. It's Laura Albert is the actress's name who plays Mrs. Van Houten. And I wanted to make sure I got her name right because she is like such a dynamo in this movie. She plays like kind of the main character in that she's the one being taken to the asylum at the beginning of the movie. But just like the most incredible performance, like so many challenging nightmare sequences and like nudity and like
Very
sexuality.
stylized dialogue that she has to kind of like,
Yeah, a lot of scripts. There's lots of special effects that she has to deal with. So Laura Albert went on to be like she was a stunt woman and then a stunt coordinator and now I believe works in Hollywood as a stunt coordinator. Is that
Yeah,
current?
I think she's still doing stunt coordination with
early
she
on
was doing Hawaii 5-0, I feel like.
Talking to Steven about this, he told me that she has in one of her homes a shrine to all things Dr. Caligari and that she's just extremely proud of it. And what was really cool is after we made these perfumes, I sent her a bunch of it and she bought like a lot more. And I think that she's just, especially, I Know You're Watching Me. And I think that she's just given these to like everybody.
Yeah, she got a bunch of pins too.
That made me so excited because to have done something so big and yet so obscure that you're proud of for the rest of your life, but that like very few people might know about is just, I think that's like a really fascinating part of the Hollywood story and you encounter it all the time.
Yes.
But like her getting to watch her in this movie play all of these characters and do all of this stuff, it's just like fantastic. So the scent is I Know You're Watching Me, which is a line that recurs through the movie. The scent of full-blown nympho housewife hysteria, which is, I guess, the best way to even explain what her character is all about. A smear of flushed, pearly skin musk splashed by a sophisticated vintage aldehyde perfume and drenched in the secretions of high-pitched arousal.
Okay.
I feel like
What
by
does
the
that smell
time
like?
a person is buying a fragrance like that, they've kind of signed up to go on the ride. Whatever it is, right? Like, if you're into like, fragrances that smell like arousal, then you're gonna learn something probably from what it smells, and mostly what it learns. Maybe you learn is that you can't be trusted with money. But maybe what you learn is that life is full of surprises. This is really unusual. I've learned a lot about aldehydes from sniffing Bee Pal because it's not a scent that's in my wheelhouse and I didn't grow up like, it's just not, it has that like sparkling quality that it's almost effervescent.
Yes.
Here's the thing with this though. Oh, is that your laundry timer?
Yes.
Is she here with us?
I do need to switch things though.
There are like so many things going on with this. It has a really soft, like feminine vibe. And then that is like undercut with this like really intense, like the high pitched part of it. It's like got an x-axis and a y-axis, and then there's like a weird parabola on the thing that you go through with each breath every time you smell this. It's creamy, but it's also kind of got that like powdery thing, but I can't tell if it's like maybe just smells like makeup a little bit. Or is it the aldehyde that makes me feel like that scent that when you like, you know, when you inhale a little bit of powder. And that's just in the bottle. So I'm going to put a little bit on. That's clean. This scent, I spilled some of it when I was bottling once, and that makes you feel so crazy. And you're just like, basically, I am drowning in the scent of, what was it? The secretions of high-pitched arousal. I really think that this scent, I know from the way that people test fragrances that it can be, you know, something can be intimidating in the bottle and it might keep you from wanting to give it a ride on the skin. It's like, oh no, what if this just like is stronger and doesn't go away? But this is one of those fragrances that I think is really worthy of going on the whole ride. It really opens up. It actually does have like a real elegance to it from the aldehydes once they're not like poking you aggressively from in their most concentrated form. The musk, I think, is like what's contributing a little bit to that light powdery kind of quality. But it's creamier on the skin appropriately than it would be in the bottle. It's what it is though, is it's a perfume. It smells like a perfume.
It smells like a perfume.
This is not like, oh, it's like your skin but better, or like, oh, I smell like delicious cake or whatever. You smell like you're wearing perfume. It's like it's definitely
But something's going on with your perfume.
something is going on with your
here.
perfume. The perfume has attained sentience and it is trying to seduce everyone. It has like an abject feminine horniness, for sure. Like full Victoria's Secret angel, and I don't mean angel the actual perfume, but like angel as in like the pop culture archetype of the Victoria's Secret angel. Like descending to earth, fully like primped and ready to like just, I don't know. What do they do? Do they fuck?
No, they strut.
They strut.
Or they pose.
Well,
does Victoria's Secret still employ the angels?
Are there any angels?
Or are they like, we're a modern society
now I think they're moving on to biblically accurate angels that are all like eyeballs.
Thank God.
Yeah, yeah.
Eyeballs and wings.
Just eyeballs and wings. We're living in apocalyptic times and the Victoria's Secret angels have been updated accordingly. Yeah, so like this isn't like the kind of perfume I tend to wear or gravitate toward even in my own like feminine expression of fragrance. More on that later. It is just like really, really beautifully like soft and feminine and horny though, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
And the aldehyde gives it just enough kind of like an edge to keep it from being too soft and too sympathetic. There's just like something like really naked about it. It's very fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because I've got it here and I've got the Cannibal Soliloquy over here. Cannibal Soliloquy, in contrast to that, smells almost beautiful but almost sexless in comparison. Like Cannibal Soliloquy is about gender and I Know You're Watching Me is about sex. That's amazing. Okay.
I have to go switch the laundry.
You want me to just like do this by myself?
Just for a moment?
People can wait. You don't think people can...
I need to get stuff out of the dryer, and I need to switch all the...
You won't be able to relax until you switch
I
the
absolutely
laundry.
will not.
Okay, so Galen's going to be checked out unless he can go switch the laundry.
I'll be right back.
So I'm going to go solo at the...
Wait, which one are you doing?
45-minute stretch.
Damn it. Okay.
Minty on my lips.
I'll come in and give my 2 cents.
We'll see. No, it's not a rush. You know. Okay, hi everyone. Well, what a relief he's finally gone.
I'm still in here.
Now we can get real. Now it's just me and a room with currently 7 people in it. And I guess technically 8 since Galen is still in this room.
Still here.
I know. So I'm gonna move on to where is she? Ah, here it is. Minty on my lips. Minty on my lips draws from a quote at the end of Dr. Caligari, where she believes she has achieved her dastardly plot, and she says, success. The word tastes minty on my lips. So it's like the smell of success. And then, I mean, I feel like I must have already, I didn't say this explicitly, but it's strongly suggested from the way that we're talking about this movie that it is not for everyone. And there is like bizarre violence and sexuality and gender transition stuff in it that is just like truly unpleasant. And that's, I have to say that because of course this movie culminates in a notorious trepanation with drill bit style scene where Dr. Caligari drills into her own head in order to administer herself an injection of brain fluid from the brain of her grandfather, the original Dr. Caligari. That's what kind of movie this is. There's no getting around it. And it is, I will say, tastefully accomplished with elements of surrealism. At no point does it seem realistic that a person is actually doing this, and nor do they go for a really intense gross out on it. But this is a fragrance inspired by a moment in a 1989 horror movie where a woman drills into her own head. And the 7 people who were live when I started saying that are still here, so I figure you're just like, yes, go on. Okay, so Minty on my lips, the description says, even the brainiest femme fatale schemes are bound to collapse under the weight of a monstrous ego. The scent of defeat snatched from the jaws of success. A soft, satiny pink grapefruit punctured by a shiny metal drill bit. So, relatively straightforward in terms of what you might imagine the scent to be. We're talking about, whoa. We're talking about a metallic grapefruit scent, which I like. There's like the satiny element of it. I think she's wearing the pink satin supervillain outfit when she does this scene. It had to be pink. The scent had to be pink. It's an impressively sharp grapefruit. This is not like a sweet scent. In fact, having just gone through some sweet scents, this one was quite pokey. I like the idea. So metallics can be a hard sell. Some people are very into them, but of course it's just like not for everybody. Connecting the idea of the metallic scent to something really familiar, like a grapefruit, I think is really smart. And of course the grapefruit symbolizes the brain, I guess, in the scent very nicely. We're not drilling into a real human brain. It's just a soft pink grapefruit. There's just like, it's just a really juicy burst of grapefruit. It does have like the bit of the pinkness, but since it is, there's not like a sweetness underneath it holding it up, it really reminds me a little bit more of like the pith of the grapefruit rind. I don't know what in it is making it metallic. like I'm smelling the drill bit, and I don't know what it is that I'm smelling. And that gives it, I want to say, I'm gonna ask Galen for this, who will, welcome back to the show, Galen. Sort of.
Hello.
Putting down the laundry. My guess, if I had to guess, and a totally uninformed guess, is that we're dealing with vetiver as a source of the. I should have said that out loud before Galen came in now, though, because now he's, you know, if he agrees with me, is he just suggestible? Is he just lovely and soft and highly suggestible? There's definitely also, as this is drying out, something rising up under it that is, I'm definitely recognizing as, like, I think a pink satin note. You know, I'm always looking for the fabrics. So, here, Galen. I can hear him rummaging around in there. Hey, Galen.
One of the things.
Put this on your skin. I'll make room.
One of the things I remember about these videos is that sometimes about 4 cents in, because of how much I'm smelling, I'm activating my hunger. Then I start to get very hungry. So I was like, oh, I'm hungry.
Yeah. Well, we're the only way out is through,
Anyway.
my friend. We're almost there. We only have
I know.
where we're like.
When I went down to the laundry room, I was like, oh, I'm starving. I'm like, yeah, because you're like smelling things and you're activating your hunger.
You're working, but also we're not almost there.
Minty
we're like actually halfway.
on my skin. Okay. This one I really like.
Now we're at different phases of the scent journey on the scent than because I'm like, I've got it on.
Whoa. Hold on, a breath. Okay.
Thank you for doing the laundry.
Mm-hmm. So what happened while I was gone?
I just said nothing. I mean, no one's gonna tell you.
Come on.
These are my friends.
Okay.
They're not gonna rat on me.
Wait, so, but I did hear something about you were thinking about vetiver?
I was trying to figure out what in it is giving me like the sharp contrast that's like the metallic drill, but I know vetiver isn't a metallic scent exactly, but it is.
Do you think she put like a metal note in there?
I mean, yes, I did. I just don't know how you accomplish. I just don't know how it's done.
I really like this one.
It's cool. It's fresh. It's lightly pink.
Yeah.
But it's like,
I like that chill in it.
Yeah.
And
It's,
the idea of doing like a citrus mint, and yet it's not like peppermint, but there's like the coolness of the mint. It's like a suggestion of mint, not like mint.
it's the most like doctory of the scents that like in this collection. It's like kind of the cleanest and most clinical. I really do think there might be like a eucalyptus in there.
Yes. That could be the chill factor.
Yes. It is growing cooler on the skin for sure. It reminds me a bit of embalming fluid, except for embalming fluid is so distinctive because of like the aloe and the tea, and this is like different scent profile, but like similar in that it is like light and clean and like I wouldn't say reassuring at all. I mean, neither is embalming fluid exactly. It's just like a light, clean. I keep wanting to say sterile, but that sounds wrong. And there's not like it doesn't smell like antiseptic or anything.
Is it? Because it really only. I'm sorry. I'm just looking at the notes.
All it says is satiny pink grapefruit, shiny metal drill
Do you
bit.
think there's some kind of fabric note?
I did say that. While you were
Okay,
gone.
because
I
I'm
do
just
think
like
I'm
I
getting
just kind of smell. I'm like
the pink
I'm
satin.
smelling something beyond like grapefruit. Like there's something there that is adding a base to it that I'm not really sure what that is.
The hot pink hearse spray that we just came out with has it's like a much more fruity fragrance, but it has a chrome note, and I do think that the chrome in that hot pink hearse is what I'm smelling in this.
I think
It's
that
like a
makes
shiny
sense.
metal, but it's cool.
Yeah, there's got to be a fabric component in here.
I'm glad that you said that too, not knowing that I said that, because I didn't implant that.
Yeah, because I'm just getting something beyond the grapefruit that is suggesting pink to me.
Yeah.
It's not the metal part, it is the pink part, but it's not grapefruit. It's beyond grapefruit.
What I'm getting from this is another film reference is Titan, the like weird horror
I would say, yeah.
movie from I mean, it's kind of like just like an arty thriller involving cars, women,
bodies.
women and cars and bodies. Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
I really like this one.
Speaking of fabric notes, let's go ahead and dip into Scarecrow Boy Toy, because I'm trying to be respectful of everyone's time and not go on too far. We have Halloween hangover, so we're a little scatterbrained. But Scarecrow Boy Toy, and this is from a scene in the movie where the Scarecrow. I think this is not explicitly stated in the movie, but I think it's an interesting kind of like show me on the doll kind of therapist trick, you know, that Dr. Caligari does to Mrs. Van Outen, where she's like talking to her about her like sexual psychosis, and then there's this scarecrow that's there the whole time that it weirdly is also part somewhat human and reacting and stuff. But like she invites Mrs. Van Outen to do something sexual with the scarecrow. And then of course there's just like, I mean, the sequence is bizarre, but like the idea of the scarecrow, and the scarecrow is played by an actor in the scene who's just basically serving face and like
going like
straw body, and that's it.
Yeah.
Right. Really, really great. Very memorable, but like not like a big part of the film. But I was excited to, you know, to throw one in for the fellas. Scarecrow Boy Toy, a lusty, bubbling cauldron of thick black tar spilling forth from a pile of dusty straw and secondhand clothes.
Right. See, like you knew that was an interesting scent opportunity.
Yes.
Yeah, you were like, that
I
needs
mean,
to be a perfume.
For bee pal.
Yeah.
This sounds like a bee pal. So what's funny about this is I remember when the mother bottles came into the lab, Beth had blended them, and I smelled this, and I was just like, oh, remember that thing where you hurl down a creative gauntlet to someone like Beth and she just like throws it right back in your face? I was like, this is so intense. I'm a little scared to unleash this on people. What are you feeling besides hunger?
Hay.
Hay.
Oil. Like hay tar. Like hay and tar. Tar on hay.
It is
hay.
This scent always reminds me of my great-grandfather's like tool shed. He was like a machinist and an engineer, and like loved working on things and making things, and he had a whole shop that was full of like tools and grease, and everything was clean and dirty. It was fastidious, but there was like grit and oil. It's really intense. It's very dark. It really, back in the day, I said that it smelled like a car to me.
Yeah.
It smelled like an evil car. It's just so dark and oily, and there's like a hint of sweetness that is coming from like the hay, and as well as I think, as I know from the dry down, having worn this, the incense. Maybe a little dusty in the bottle, but it's so intense that I can't even really get there. I'm kind of like, that's the challenge of sniffing scents that we've already smelled for over a year.
Okay.
Don't get this in your mouth, please. I think if you get this in your mouth, you'll never feel okay again.
Yeah.
There's just something really powerfully masculine about it. And I really think it has to do with that, like, for me, at least, that association with, like, the mechanic shop or whatever, where it's like, this is, like, a dark place where men do things. And not, like, you know, the gay nightclub kind of things. In the bottle, I get more, first of all, the fabric note that we were talking about, like the dusty clothes, which really just lends it like a kind of a nice, I mean, it is a little creepy, but it's also kind of brings it to earth and it makes it into a more specific person.
Yeah.
And then I get some of these like sticky, resinous, like sweet, but very potently incensey Like there's some kind of incense thing going on. And which I think is like in the tar. The tar is definitely some kind of like resinous goo. I don't know what it is. I think
It's like singed and sticky.
dusty.
He runs an auto repair shop out of his barn.
Yeah, it's
And the oil is all over his
it's
coveralls.
warm and dark. It's like stifling and dark, but like inviting, you know? Also, it's fun because every time we shared some of the stuff, like the clips from the movie on TikTok and stuff, everyone always thinks it relates to Pearl because in the movie Pearl, she has an extended romantic sequence with a scarecrow, shall we say. And this scent also reminds me of that quite a lot because it's just like the same kind of
It's the same
fantasy.
Yes.
It's like, what if a scarecrow was a real man? And on one hand, yes, there is something like sweet about that, but also there's something very dark and strange about it.
Right. Yeah, like both Mrs. Van Houten and Pearl were both kind of going for it and then being like, wait, what am I doing?
Yes.
He's made of straw? I'm married!
Straw, you say? At least Pearl got to keep the hat. Yeah, but like as this wears, it definitely softens up and becomes an interesting, like, more like decidedly masculine, like gooey resinous perfume. Because like a lot of the really wonderful gooey resin, dark resin perfumes that Beth makes, like relate to the feminine, the monstrous feminine. You know, there are all sorts of these happen a lot, especially in the paintings, the classical art sense that we do, and it's like she really digs in there to bring out like this like feminine fantasy of the subject of the painting in some kind of dark, interesting way. I've collected a bunch of these of hers over the years. It's interesting to smell one that goes in a kind of a decidedly masculine lane. But anyone can be a scarecrow boy toy. So, scarecrow is not a gender.
That's true.
Or rather, it is not gendered. It can be maybe its own gender. And as we learn in the movie, he has no junk. So
just straw.
Just straw. Just more straw. So we got 2 left. We have cracked an hour, but we are on the home stretch. I really appreciate everyone sticking with us through this because, again, these scents have been on our mind for a long time. We've watched the movie how many times since the restoration happened, and especially now that it's on Shudder, I could just turn it on, and it's exciting to just have it.
And in cutting clips for it, I kind of just watched the movie.
You did?
I was like, this is good. And then I'm like, I feel like I just watched it, but yet I would watch it again.
Just very silly and smart. The script is incredible. Like, there's a zillion one-liners. It's fantastic.
Right. I'm still trying to learn them, get them up here.
Steven, the director, loves to talk about how basically when the movie came out, it was a critical hit. The critics really liked it. And then it just kind of got lost in the shuffle. When you think about 89, it was not a time where, like, you know,
a lot was going on.
And media didn't really, like, make it out there very widely. You know, like, it played, it did well, and then it was gone. And then it, I think I watched it on VHS at a friend's house. I was friends with, like, drug people, and they loved watching this movie. And so I watched it, and you know that thing when you're just like a baby goth or whatever, and you have no idea what you're looking at, but the other people seem to be enjoying it? And you're just like, okay, well, this is creepy, and I probably would not watch this on my own, but then other people's enjoyment kind of shows you how to like it. That's what happened to me with Showgirls. It was the same thing.
I was the creepy goth showing people things.
Yes.
Going, it's great.
Yeah.
So that was my job.
You do this
I
to
wasn't
me.
the one. I wasn't the one absorbing. I was the one teaching.
You recently did that to me with these Iraqi movies.
Yes.
Okay.
Speaking of wonderful restorations.
Right.
Pop art.
Well, let's get into Tongue Wall.
Okay.
Are you into
the set piece?
Are you into Tongue Wall?
The set piece. What about Tongue Wall? You into them?
Extremely memorable moment in the movie is an extended delirium with Mrs. Van Houten where she, I I mean, a tongue wall happens. A mouth, a
You're
fleshy,
like, what's a tongue wall?
a weird fleshy kind of mattress appears that a mouth materializes, and then a tongue comes out of
And
it,
it keeps getting bigger.
bigger and bigger, like in a nightmare, and then she's
fully
bathed,
being
bathed by the
licked by
tongue.
this crazy huge tongue.
Yeah, it's nuts, and it's
It's-
just like seething and separated with like
Bubbling.
things coming out of it and stitches that are popping open, and it's just like, and it's all practical effects that are at once very crude and at the same time like how.
It's fucking crazy.
So, and then when we were making stuff to promote the movie, I took it upon myself to try to, I wanted to create a prop we could film with, and I wanted to make an actual tongue wall. So this is just me showing off for a moment. There's the tongue. Like this is like I was interested in exploring with casting with resin, and what I learned from this experiment is that our apartment is too small for me to have this as a pastime.
Yeah, we need like an industrial space for resin work.
Yeah, separate from
That's
your
not-
kitchen.
Like just the storage alone, because like the things are huge.
Oh, and the chemicals
And we
are
were just, like,
nasty, and you have to be careful. But I did manage, with like beautiful translucent red resin, I managed to cast from my original sculpture a tongue wall. Okay, get it nice in there so you can actually see her.
And when the light behind it, the lips glow, it's really
Yeah,
cool. Really cool.
And then, of course, finding like tongue, I had to like, I didn't make the tongue. I found fake tongues online, but I had to like really adapt them so that we could like film and do some like puppet action and stuff. And just like getting to make this for official licensed perfume marketing purposes was like, it got me through a piece of the like later, like the pandemic, where I was like, I have like something really fun and weird to work on.
Yeah.
No one's making me do this. It did end up being, I thought, really successful. My dream fantasy, of course. Oh no, the tongue's just falling. I thought it would stick to my face.
Oh.
I want this. I want tongue wall as a scent locket. I want a rectangular scent locket with a vent and like vented. Getting a scent locket made is a whole undertaking that maybe it doesn't deserve to happen. I want one. We'll see. But anyway, to do a tongue wall fragrance, like when I sat down to draft out possible fragrances to lay before Steven, the director, like the tongue wall was like the first thing. Like, you know, there's going to be a tongue wall fragrance. And so here's the scent. It says fleshy and fruity, guava musk, slick strawberry lip gloss, and blood tainted digestive juices. If you're like a goth, I mean, again, we're like really just honoring the source material. And then I know for Beth, I'm like, she can make a wearable tongue wall fragrance, but that it is going to evoke like all of these elements.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be gritty and underground and abjectly sexual, while also being the kind of thing that won't get you thrown out of society for smelling like it. Right?
Yeah.
That's that sweet spot that we aim for time and again and usually hit. So, it's so intimate, isn't it? The scent. It is like fleshy and fruity is like the
guava
way of understanding
it's
it.
really tart. Oh my god.
There is like a citrus tartness.
It's very, I mean, like, that's very intense, right, coming out of the bottle.
I think the citrus tartness really relates to the digestive juices part of it when you think about like the bile or whatever we're talking. Let's just say bile. I didn't write bile in the description, but like it smells, it's just like really warm. And there's something about, I think, the lip gloss part of it. Like, I feel like I can smell the saliva. Or like whatever, like, because you know the tongue is licking her in the movie, and I'm sure it's just like lube or whatever that they're filming with. But like there's something, the slickness of it is really interesting. The fruitiness of it with the guava and the citrus and everything, like it could almost be like a shampoo, except there are those blood tinged digestive juices. So it is just like weirdly like a warmly like intimate kind of like body scent while also being like a warm fruit scent. Like a kind of a tropical fruit and makeup. Are you not putting it on?
Oh, I am. I'm just processing. Also, my stomach is going crazy.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're almost
Fine.
done.
I
This is
know.
the second to last one. Okay, but the musk though, under the guava, like on the skin, it softens up. It doesn't
Oh,
have
that
like that
is, yeah,
harshness. I've worn this one a
it
lot.
softens immediately
It's
on
beautiful.
the skin. It's like really intense out of the bottle, and I had to give it a moment to like breathe before I could go back in because I was like, "Whoa, guava!"
It's really inviting, honestly.
I do really like this.
It's like with the musk and the blood or whatever, it takes it just enough into perfume land and out of like fruit salad land to be just like a lovely, fruity, musky fragrance.
Yeah, very tangy and playful and like
It is playful.
fun.
It's campy,
Yeah,
but I think that it's got enough dimension in the tartness of like the fruit or the juices or whatever, to kind of give a range so it's not some like one note body splash, like fruity body splash situation.
yeah,
And also the fruit, as happens with a lot of fruit scents, the sweetness of it is like tempering as it like dries down, so it's not going to be like that, you know, Starburst commercial juices loose situation. And it's just like, and the musk is kind of like picking up steam, and it kind of just smooths out into like a lovely, sweet, fruity musk. It's really cool. I mean, this is a really beautiful summer fragrance.
yeah.
You're cratering. Your energy is
Very
cratering.
summer. I am. Yeah,
I've
yeah.
almost lost you. Well, we only have one left, and they're all mixed up, so we'll never find
It's right
it.
there.
It's right in front of me. Okay, that brings us to the finale, which is XXX means kisses. This is a reference as a joke in the movie. Um, Ramona is the other female main character. She's one of the doctors at the asylum who, working under Caligari, who is like suspicious of Caligari's plans and is just, ultimately kind of the hero of the film. Life imitates bad art is the quote. It's like a kind of a mission statement actually for the movie. Um, anyway, it says a rare portrait of innocence and integrity amidst the corruption of Caligari's asylum. Tart hibiscus, skin musk, shea, and the faintest whiff of nicotine. I feel like why this scent was important was because there is like a good character in the movie who's just trying to do good. And I like the idea of having a scent in the collection that is not just like evil and dirty and weird.
Yeah.
Something a little cleaner, but like that it still tracks with like the overall picture. And I should actually layer this with Caligari a Go-Go sometime just to see what comes of it. So yeah, you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's just do it. Let's just smell it and then get out of here as soon as possible. We've been in Caligari land for a long time. It's funny how normally I am impressed by the kind of a natural low-key sweetness of this scent, but smelling it directly after tongue wall, it does not smell as sweet at all. It smells so much of raw shea
Very much.
that I'm really,
Yeah.
which I use a lot of, and I'm really impressed, which has a kind of a dark, cool, nutty creaminess to it. Like almost like a woodiness, because if you've got really good shea. But there is like I don't know what the hibiscus is exactly, except for that I love it. It does have like a faint floral tartness, and the musk, and I don't know what the nicotine is either. Is it like is it the tobacco flower maybe? It has just a very light, steady, like clean sweetness that I find just really inviting. Like if it smells like an extremely expensive like face cream or something. The kind of thing where someone would be like, oh, what's that scent? And you're like, oh, it's just this extremely expensive product I use to make me look beautiful. It just has like a lovely freshness. On the skin, I get a little more of, I think, the hibiscus and the musk, and it has a distinctly feminine vibe to it. But unlike what we were talking about with I Know You're Watching Me, it really just has no agenda. It's just very pleasant and
I feel
calm.
like I did not get enough.
It's quietly just like very rich. And because of the shea, it has that oleaginous quality where it just smells rich, like the way that, like a rich oil. I want to say that between the shea and the hibiscus, it has almost like an herbal quality to it instead of floral. But that musk like really delivers like a very smooth softness. This is like aftercare at the end of this long video and the end of the collection. It's just like, here is like a nice soothing palm stroke after getting smacked down. You got nothing. You're running on fumes, my friend.
I'm not really. I think maybe my nose is just done.
You wanna smell it on
because
me?
I'm not really smelling it. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. Your skin just ate it.
It's like I'm that hungry that my skin is eating the perfumes. I smell the faintest notes of it.
Can I see? I'm gonna diagnose
Where
you.
I'm like, I'm not really smelling it, but maybe my nose is done, and
I think that the other
being
scents
taken
that you've
over.
been smelling are just like way stronger. I can smell it on you, and interestingly, it smells different on you than it does on me.
It does. No,
It's-
that's why I know. I'm like, I could smell it on you. I can't really smell it
On me, it wears like a little sweeter, and there's something about the tartness of that hibiscus that is just like really gives it kind of like a wink, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's just like the faintest bit like flirty. I love wearing this scent. I never would have picked it because, you know, I knew something out of this would be like what I wanted to wear all the time. I needed to have a scent in this collection that I could just grab anytime. I did not expect it to be this one. Completely amazing. I love it. It's like there's a coolness to the shea that makes this really refreshing in the summertime, and like also it doesn't like amp in a crazy way, floral wise or whatever, to where I like announce to the world that I'm wearing some crazy perfume.
Okay.
The nicotine is not a strong part of it, but I do think it just kind of gives it a little bit like an
Do you
edge
think
of
it's
tobacco.
smoke, or do you think it's a
It,
flower?
it doesn't smell
It doesn't
smoky.
smell smoky to me.
It doesn't smell smoky, but and that's why I think it might be tobacco flower, which I do love in other fragrances. So I think that's part of what like is making this one of my favorite scents that we've ever done.
Yeah, I'm getting like a shea skin mask, but it's
Mhm.
very. I think that my nose is a little overcooked right now.
For
so
me-
I'm not really allowing access to this one.
Drink some water. For me, this is what like a your skin but better fragrance for me like really smells like. Is like I showered, I put on all my nice things, and I'm leaving, and I just smell amazing because I am amazing. And
Well,
so it's
weirdly, that did help. No, I kind of smell a bit of the hibiscus. Hibiscus.
hibiscus. I like, and you know, hibiscus is an edible flower, isn't it? You, like
I haven't done it.
No, I'm not saying we're gonna feed you hibiscus after this.
I've never eaten it.
But it has, there's like a kind of like the tartness or the bitterness to it that I like. I have to say, this is not apropos, but like I had a jamaica at a Mexican restaurant in Williamsburg when we were in town for New York Comic Con, and I ordered a large, thinking I would share it with Eric at the table, and they delivered it. And you know those large to-go soup containers?
Yes.
They brought one of those to the table, full to the brim, with jamaica, which is like a agua fresca that's like a red, it's almost like grape juice basically, but it does have hibiscus in it. And then like a straw, and it's that thing where the straw won't even go in because it's like floating on top of the drink, but it was like this lagoon of it. was so crazy. It was like $4. Well, you've smelled, we've gushed, we've ranted and raved about one of our favorite movies. We showed off the pins, the Dr. Caligari pins.
Let's get closer.
Yes, get closer. Show off the pins.
Shiny, shiny.
You can watch this movie. It's
on Shudder.
I figured it would be a spooky movie weekend for lots of people. And I'm reading comments as they're launching that have to do with hibiscus and the deliciousness of it. I did catch the comment. I just can't reproduce it in my brain at this stage. But yes, Dr. Caligari is out there. You can buy the 4K Blu-ray restoration. You can watch it for free on Shudder with a free trial of Shudder.
You could probably like buy it on. Do you think it's available on iTunes?
On iTunes or whatever?
Amazon?
I actually haven't even checked.
We have not checked that.
You can.
yet.
What I'm trying
Don't
to
quote me
tell
on
you is that you can participate in the artistic experience of this cult film that is now newly available, as so few things get to be, in a much better form for the future. You can also decline to do that and participate optionally in the fragrance side of it with us, which I love, and no one has to watch a movie to enjoy fragrance. Or you could opt out of that also and just enjoy watching us talk about things that we are passionate about and that we can smell, but that no one else has to. And as strange as I think that is, I do deem it acceptable, and I am grateful for it. So if that's you and you were here watching this with us, how fun. Anything else I say, though, from here stands between Galen and his lunch. And I'm worried about that there's like an invisible threshold between here and there where once we cross it, like another person will become unleashed. So I want to say thank you to Galen for doing these streams.
He's coming.
It's been lovely to have you back on the couch. I know we won't have you all the time. Sometimes it will be just me and you'll be trapped with me. But it was very wonderful for you. I wanted to do this and talk with somebody who's seen and enjoyed the movie, and
Yes.
we've watched it together numerous times.
You brought it into my life. That murky DVD transfer.
And you're still
from the
talking to
VHS.
me.
Yeah.
Yes. So thank you everyone who, I don't know, has helped get the word out also about the movie and about the fragrances and stuff, because I guarantee you there are weirdos out there who want to know about this and just haven't heard about it yet. So
watch it and tell 5 people.
Oh
and
my
then
God.
they'll watch it and tell 5 people.
That's how it works. It's like The Ring.
Hello.
Yes. That's just like the rules of horror. Have a wonderful spooky horror season. Watch a scary thing. Do a scary thing. Smell a scary thing.
And vote.
And vote.
Or hopefully you voted.
Or you may have voted. Or this video is playing in space to aliens.
I saw
in
the
the
viewer
future.
count go down when I said vote. So.
Yeah. That's just how
Thanks.
how it be sometimes.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna go, but yes, that's it.
But we're gonna go, but yes.
That was a complete statement. It's one of those things where you don't know how to get off the phone with someone, and I'm waiting for them to hang up. I'm like, I don't want to hang up on 9 people. But
going through a tunnel.
that's right. Okay, have a wonderful Halloweeny weekend, everybody. Do something that makes you feel good. Hang in
Like
there.
this.
Is that doing it for
This
you?
makes me feel good.
I think watching you do that is making somebody else feel a little too good right now. How does knowing that make you feel? Bye.
Bye.